You know, Paper Mario is a series that I love. It's a series I hold very close to my heart, very nostalgic place in my childhood, as I'm sure with many of you. But it also just happens to be maybe the saddest series that I can think of. And I'm sure you've heard all of this before, but I felt a wave of Paper Mario nostalgia wash over me recently that I felt compelled to throw my 2 cents in about my love and, I wouldn't want to say hatred, maybe just unrivaled disappointment at the series as a whole. So I want to talk about, well, I guess more or less the whole series, but really I want to focus on the Paper Mario that I love the most, which is Super Paper Mario. I know in a way that's a bit of a controversial pick, but hopefully I'll be able to elucidate on my feelings of why I feel like Super Paper Mario is the best Paper Mario, at least in my opinion. So the original Paper Mario, sadly I've never played it. I have of course seen a handful of clips from like people who did Let's Plays on it a while back, general reviews of the game, and overall, it's the original Paper Mario. It's a classic. Everyone likes it, and even I can tell that it looks like it's a really fun game. And of course, it's an RPG, fun RPG. But then, of course, the true diamond of this series, as many would tell you, is the Thousand Year Door. And let me tell you, I have played the Thousand Year Door, and it was, superb. It was a lot of fun. Sadly, I never beat it. I wasn't very skilled at RPGs. I didn't really understand like the nuances of like leveling up and like how to make your characters the best they could possibly be. So I ended up getting stuck at a lot of different points in the game where I was like, what am I supposed to do? This is way too hard. And that's just because I didn't level up properly. But of course, the key thing that makes a Paper Mario game great, in my opinion, is the story. And of course, the story of the Thousand Year Door was amazing. Obviously it has the incredible characters. You had Goombella, Koops, Vivian, Flurry, the Yoshi that you can name anything, Bobbery. Hopefully I didn't forget anyone. I'm sorry if I did. But the game was just great. And the RPG part of the game was fun too. This was more or less back in the day when I still enjoyed gameplay and story equally in gaming. It was around the same time where I really loved Super Mario Galaxy, which was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, I never finished the Thousand Year Door, but I still loved it. But then, Super Paper Mario came along, and that is just, I think, one of the greatest games I've ever played. And now, is it a flawed game? In a lot of ways, absolutely yes. I'll be the first to tell you that I agree with a fair bit of the complaints around that game, I don't agree with the notion that, Super Paper Mario not being an RPG is what killed the series. I know that this is a controversial take, but I actually don't need Paper Mario games to be an RPG for them to be good. I mean, I like RPGs, but the fact that I know that I love Super Paper Mario for its story and what it is, and I love the Thousand Year Door a little less for its story and what it is, and the fact that one is an RPG and one's a 3D action adventure platformer, really goes to me. It showed me at the time, and looking back on it now today, as my taste in gaming evolved over time, that I realized what I loved about those games, really, and about gaming in general, is this idea that the story is more important to me than the gameplay. I know that seems counterintuitive because it's, a video game. Isn't the gameplay the most important part? Well, I would argue yes, but I would also argue that in the context of certain games, like let's say Minecraft, right? Minecraft doesn't have a story, but obviously a lot of people love it. It's a fantastic game because it allows you to do a lot of insane things, but it has no story. But I like Minecraft anyway because it's just a fun game in general. But when you have the context of other games like Paper Mario, like, any Square Enix RPG, even though, Square Enix isn't known for its stories or making good decisions, I don't know, just any video game you can think of that has an amazing story, just off the top of your head. The gameplay and the story come together to make an amazing experience. You could have a fun game with no story, and you could theoretically have a fun story with terrible gameplay, although that's much harder to pull off. But for me, gameplay is sort of the connective tissue for the story. But I guess I can talk about why I like story more than gameplay another day. Getting back to Paper Mario, before I gush about Super Paper Mario some more, I just want to delve into my thoughts on the more recent entries. Starting off, of course, with the horrible, horrible mistake of nature that is Sticker Star. Let me tell you, I actually had the unfortunate displeasure of playing that game. When it came out, I bought it. I had a 3DS. I was like, oh boy, I loved, the 1,000-Year Door, and I really loved Super Paper Mario. So, hey, Sticker Star. And it's like, oh, I can take this Paper Mario with me anywhere. Sign me up. And then you play the game and you realize, wow, this... Literally every decision they could have made was the wrong decision. I mean, the game is just... If you've played Sticker Star, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, like, the battle mechanics. And this is really when I noticed this idea in me that story was better than gameplay, was... I actually, didn't hate the battle mechanics at the time. Of course, seeing reviews on it and a lot of different, opinions on the game itself, I realized, oh my god, there's literally no reason to battle anyone. So that's if the combat, and the whole sticker mechanic is stupid also, but if the combat and the quote-unquote RPG elements aren't fun, then, I can at least fall back on the story, because the story is fun. It's a Paper Mario game. The whole reason it's paper is because it was supposed to be like a storybook, like paper pages of a story. That was the whole point. But then, of course, these geniuses, in their infinite wisdom, decided to literally take the approach of paper and make that the main gimmick with stickers. And the thing is, you can make Paper Mario literally about paper, and that's fine. But the fact that the story, and I use the term story in Sticker Star very loosely, is as bare bones and terrible as it is, was really just the nail in the coffin for the series for me at that moment. It was like, wow, you took something brilliant and made it terrible. And that was just the most disappointing thing in the world to me. And then, of course, again, Nintendo, and in its infinite wisdom, saw the sales of Sticker Star and the general response of Sticker Star, and was like, people didn't really respond to this one like the other ones. So you know what we should do? Let's make a slightly better version of Sticker Star with Color Splash. And let me tell you, I actively went out of my way to avoid playing Color Splash. When I saw that trailer, I was like, oh my god, they're just making Sticker Star again, just slightly improved, quote-unquote. And I went out of my way to not own it. I was one of the 10 people at the time who owned a Wii U, and I went out of my way to be like, nope, I ain't gonna play it. And from what I've seen and what I've heard, Color Splash is an improvement over Sticker Star, but it's still not amazing. The writing is slightly better. The characters, I can't believe I haven't even talked about the characters yet in Sticker Star. Holy moly. All Toads, huh? All Toads, just the basic Mario enemies. You have a spin-off on your hands. The entire purpose of Paper Mario to me is that you have the mainline games of Paper Mario, the mainline Mario games, right? The platformers. Now, getting down to brass tacks here, the stories of the mainline Mario games aren't exactly deep. So, you have this spin-off where you can actually tell intricate, complex stories in the Mario universe that you can't tell in the main games, because the main games are all about platforming and 3D stuff. But then you actually went out of your way to scrub all the cool stuff out of Paper Mario to make it feel more like the mainline games. It's when it's supposed to be a spin-off focused on the story. And then the worst part about that is you actually took out interesting characters. If the game had unique characters, or Sticker Star had unique characters, and the story sucked, at least the characters would be interesting. But they didn't even do that. They literally just looked at the mainline series and took Goombas, Koopas. There's not, an original anything in Sticker Star, except for Kirsty. And Kirsty isn't exactly the greatest companion in the world. And then getting back to Color Splash, I mean, it was theoretically better, but it was just like the same. And I don't really have much to say about Color Splash. Origami King, on the other hand, surprised me in that it wasn't the worst game I'd ever played. But you know what the funniest thing about Origami King to me was? The funniest thing about Origami King was the fact that, like, in all the trailers leading up to the game, they were really hyping up, you know, like the puzzle circle battle mechanic, right? Where it's like, okay, we know people enjoy RPG combat, and that's what this series was known for. But instead of going for that, we went for this puzzle approach to combat. And then you play the game and you realize, hey, I don't actually have to engage with this combat at all, because there's literally no reason to fight enemies, because there's no RPG progression system. You get your power through hearts that you collect just going through the main story. There's literally, again, no reason to do an RPG or any combat with the enemies. So, like, this entire build-up to, like, this whole puzzle mechanic idea was just flawed from the start, and it honestly kind of pissed me off. That it really had no, like, purpose. Like, the only time the RPG combat puzzle wheel was any fun at all and actually meant something was against the bosses and the Velamentals, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But again, holy moly, man, the characters in Origami King. I'll start off with the best one, which is obviously Bobby. Bobby is very clearly the best character to come out of Origami King. I mean, well, Olivia's great too, obviously, but I mean as far as, like, characters go, not your guide. Because like, you could say at the very least Kirsty was a character, even if she wasn't that great. And then I don't even know who the paint bucket was in Color Splash. A literal paint bucket. And really? But Olivia is great. But the best, like, side character is clearly Bobby. And man, I'll tell you what. I hope if anyone at Nintendo ever hears this, if there's anything I want you to take away from this video I'm about to say right now. Bobby's death scene where he blows himself up to save Olivia from underneath that boulder. More of that. Do more of those scenes. I'm not talking about, like, making sad scenes or things like that. But that moment reminded me of why I loved Paper Mario, because it was a deep emotional moment in the story. And also, like, seeing Mario emote slightly was at the very least interesting. And seeing Olivia sad, like, that entire segment was so glorious, and it actually made me feel something, and that's what I want out of a Paper Mario game. But then, you know, of course, you know, Origami King isn't perfect, you know. The story is fine for what it is. I mean, King Ollie is not really that memorable of a villain, because we barely interact with him at all throughout the entire story. You know, he's just evil, essentially. And then all the rest of the other, like, partner characters aren't really that great either. Like, Archaeologist Toad, I don't even remember his name. The Pirate Captain Toad was whatever. Like, Bowser Jr. was fine. You know, like, obviously, Origami King to me was like one step forward, two steps back in terms of the Paper Mario series. And my genuine hope for this series is that, you know, we had the first 3 games, which are considered great, and then we had the latest 3, which go from god-awful, slightly above god-awful, and then, you know, average, hopefully good at best. So maybe the 7th installment in the Paper Mario series, they'll do sort of like, in a way, it's almost kind of like the, like Star Wars, right? You know, like 4, 5, and 6 is the equivalent of like 1, 2, and 3 of Paper Mario, right? You start off with a game everyone loves, then you start off with a game that's much better that everyone really loves, then you start make a game that, you know, has flaws and people love it, but it's definitely flawed. Then you create something that's horrible, then you create something that's slightly better than horrible, and then you make something that's good and bad in a lot of places. So if we're following the Star Wars movie rules, then theoretically the next Paper Mario game should be fine, right? Maybe they'll make an RPG again, who knows? Just a crowd-pleasing Paper Mario game. But yeah, going back to Super Paper Mario and why I love it so much is because the story in Super Paper Mario is fantastic. The characters are fantastic. I'm talking about the villains, because obviously they replaced the partner characters with the pixels. And, the pixels are fine. They're, they only, like, have one moment where they speak, and that's when you meet them, and then they never talk again. But, man, I'm talking about... And, here's another thing that I loved about Super Paper Mario also. You got to play as Princess Peach, you got to play as Bowser, and you got to play as Luigi. And the best part about all of that is that they actually, like, had real importance to the story. And what I mean by that is... whenever a cutscene played out, it didn't, like, switch you back to Mario so that the characters would only interact with him. Like, there was specific segments and dialogue, even with meeting the pixels, where if you were playing as Peach, Peach would react to things with her own set of dialogue. If you played as Bowser, Bowser would react to things with his own set of dialogue. Same with Luigi, he had his own reactions and set of dialogues. And then if you played as Mario, you obviously had Tippy fill in the role for him of speaking. And I found that really cool because, like, it offered some level of replayability where it was like you could see how each character would react to a specific instance if you were playing them at that specific moment in time. And then, oh man, just the best part about Super Paper Mario to me is the villains. Holy moly. They have stuck with me. Like, Super Paper Mario is a game you do not understand. Super Paper Mario is a game to me that has stood the test of time in my heart. It's been a long time since I played it, but Super Paper Mario is a game that really shaped my childhood and shaped my taste in gaming and my love of storytelling. And it's, that kind of game that Nintendo just refuses to make. Nintendo goes out of their way to be the anti-story video game company. And that's really sad because I genuinely wish, especially in today's modern gaming market, where every damn AAA quote-unquote, studio has to release some multiplayer battle royale, battle pass, hoo-ha, and, like, they make a half-assed story, and it's like, I wish you could take the storytelling potential Nintendo is very capable of doing, and you combined that with a basic... I just wish... I wish games were better. Honestly, that's, at the end of the day, I wish games were better. But hell, that's a story for another day. All I want from Super Paper Mario is that nothing. I think it's fantastic. All I want from Paper Mario, Nintendo, if anyone's listening to this, I guess watching it too, I just want story. I just want fun characters and fun story. I don't care if you make it an RPG. I don't care if you make it an adventure game. I don't care if you make it a puzzle game. I just want story in my Paper Mario game. I really hope, as we inch ever closer and closer to getting a game that is fully committed to the story. And let me just say this right now also, Nintendo. Stop trying to make a hybrid game like you've been trying to make with Sticker Star, Color Splash, and Origami King. Stop trying to make a hybrid where you have theoretically some amount of RPG elements, but not enough to make it an RPG, that then it contradicts the adventure game. Like, just make a full-blown RPG or make a full-blown adventure game out of the Paper Mario series. Like Super Paper Mario. Super Paper Mario had 0 RPG elements, and people loved that game because they loved the story and the characters. Hell, I haven't even gotten to the villains yet. Well, that's why this series is called Ramblings. But yeah, Nintendo, please just focus on the story and characters in the future. You don't need to worry about trying to appease the Thousand Year Door fans. And believe me, Thousand Year Door fans, I love the Thousand Year Door as well. I love the RPG. It was fun. But all I ask is that you just focus on the story and characters for the next installment. Make us care about the story and characters. Make that the focal point of the game. And then, make the game whatever you want afterwards. Just make sure the story and unique characters, not just Toads and Goombas and Koopas and the like, unique characters, unique to Paper Mario and the Mario franchise, that don't have to be canon because it's a spin-off, so you aren't, bound by the laws of the mainline games. You can do whatever you want. So please, I hope you just focus on that. So getting back to the Super Paper Mario villains, you had Count Bleck, mwah. You had Dementio, mwah. You had Mimi, mwah. You had O-Chunks, mwah. All of them fantastic. O-Chunks, who couldn't love O-Chunks? And he's gonna chunk you. And he's you know, he's so Scottish, or he's Irish. I wasn't 100% sure, to be honest with you, but I loved him anyway. And then be honest with yourselves and with me in the comments if you've gotten this far into the video, which if you have, thank you so much. How many people were scared of Mimi when she like transformed into her spider form and her head spun around? That traumatized me legit, but I loved it so much. And then who could forget Dementio? Ooh, the sly, cunning magician jester himself. Ah, God. You see, I think the best part about Paper Mario to me is the fact that you got to interact with the villains. Like, the villains were there with the story along with the heroes. Like, you got to see their struggles and motivations. And Natasha and her relationship with Count Bleck. And then, of course, Count Bleck. Ooh. Count Bleck to me might be the greatest Mario villain that Nintendo has ever made. Like, his arc and, like, his reasons for doing things. I don't want to spoil Super Paper Mario. Well, hell, I don't want to spoil it. I mean, it's not like Nintendo. Oh, yeah, here's another thing for you, Nintendo. Why don't you re-release the Paper Mario, the OG Paper Mario trilogy? You know, you had Mario 3D All-Stars, right? Why don't you do Paper Mario All-Stars? Release the OG, Thousand Year Door, and Super Paper Mario all in one. I mean, I know Super Paper Mario might be a little more difficult because it had, like, Wii controls and, like, pointing at the screen and stuff, but I'm sure you can work around it. And just see what happens. See how many people buy that game, and then you'll realize you need to make more Paper Mario like that. You know what? I'm not gonna bother with spoilers. I mean, the game is old. It's Wii old, and also, Nintendo hasn't re-released it yet. I don't think. So, Count Bleck and the relationship with Tippy, and like he was heartbroken, and he found order in the dark prognosticus against the light prognosticus. And I mean, listen, I'll also list off like the flaws with Super Paper Mario. Sure, people were upset that it was an RPG. That's fair. That mission where you have to run around in a wheel for like literally 20 minutes to get rupees to pay off Mimi, that sucked. Sometimes it was easy to get lost out in the space mission, that door. The later levels were a bit hard. Was that even really a complaint? Obviously the game isn't flawless. Flipside isn't really that interesting of a location in comparison to Rogueport. I absolutely agree with that. Rogueport is teeming with life. Flipside's just kind of whatever. But man, I love Super Paper Mario just so damn much, and I genuinely wish the series could be better. I mean, obviously I wish a lot of series could be better. Hell, what's a series I wish could be better? Or what's a character I wish had more to him? Rayman. Oh man. Ubisoft, quick tangent here. Ubisoft, if anyone from Ubisoft is watching, with all the endless struggles you guys are having, you want some advice from me? You could release a new Rayman game. That might make people happy. Although, hell, with the way Skull and Bones is looking and all your other future endeavors, you might just want to try making some crowd-pleasing affair just to make some cash. And I mean good crowd-pleasing affair, not your, 5 out of 10 theoretically playable but god-awfully boring titles you've been releasing. I've played Far Cry 6. Actually, yeah, another quick tangent. I played Far Cry 6. I beat 2/3 of it, and then Ubisoft announced Ubisoft Quartz and all that NFT garbage, and I immediately stopped playing Far Cry, and I haven't purchased anything from Ubisoft since. And that includes Mario and Rabbids, which, I'm sure that game is fun and all, but, how much of that is Ubisoft and how much of that is Nintendo? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, if there's any sort of moral or lesson to be had in this video, it's that I care about Paper Mario and I want it to be good. And I know I've been harping on about Nintendo for a long time. Or I guess in a lot of my previous videos, I harp on Nintendo the most. When it's like, why do you talk so much trash and sass to Nintendo as opposed to like companies that really deserve it, like EA or Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Konami. Hell, basically every AAA studio seems to be terrible in some way. Well, the reason I'm not talking as much smack about those companies is that I just don't feel like they deserve me talking about them. I feel like I have lost my love and passion and care for a lot of those studios to the point now where, am I angry at them? Of course, but, me screaming into the void that, oh, these companies are terrible isn't really going to change anything. And I don't care about a lot of their products and a lot of what they put out, because a lot of it is just multiplayer, battle pass filled garbage, and that's just not for me. I just don't care. I'm more about the story. And I know Nintendo, doesn't exactly put out, the most deep, thought-provoking story games of all. But the great thing about Nintendo is that I truly believe they, more than any other AAA studio and company, genuinely try to put out good games, and they haven't sunken so low. And I've read the news, they gave their workers raises amidst this, profits fall, and I find that amazing. I even contemplated how much I wanted to sass Nintendo in this video, but I guess the justification for me was I want to just express that I do love your games, Nintendo. Nintendo has etched a place in my heart that will never be replaced. I will always love Nintendo, even if I don't always love some of their decisions or some of the games they make. But I talk about them the most because I care about them the most. I care about their products, even though I haven't really played a Nintendo game in a long time, because going for YouTube and work and life combined, the only games time that I really have to play games is whenever I'm recording stuff for this, if I choose to, or I own a Switch, but I don't really play anything anymore. But I guess circling back again for my ramblings to just, I guess if I wanted to just have one takeaway from this video, it's that I do still love Nintendo. I do still love a lot of their products and a lot of their games, especially the mainline series. You guys do make amazing games, but my only caveat on that is you can continue to make the mainline games however you want, but when you're making a spin-off, especially a spin-off that originated as a story-focused, narrative-driven, fun and unique characters of the Mario universe, and I guess against the Mario universe, I want you to go back to that and focus on that for Paper Mario specifically. Eventually I'm sure we'll probably see Mario Odyssey 2, Breath of the Wild is coming out, which will have a story, but obviously we'll focus more on gameplay. But for Super Paper Mario, all I request is please focus on the unique characters and the unique story, and I suppose unique setting. If you want to make it about paper, that's fine. Except the damn Legion of Stationery. The Legion of Stationery. Those are memorable. Who could forget tape and scissors? But yeah, just that's my hope for the future. Thank you very much, everyone who made it this far into the video. Hope you're all having a beautiful day, night, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And to the future of Paper Mario and to the future of good gaming. I hope the video game industry can continue to make good products, and I hope they don't sink too far into microtransactions and all of that. I know they'll never go away at this point, but all I can hope is that gaming continues to move forward for the better and not for the worst. And I'll be here, still giving my love and support, because I love video games too. And I love you, Nintendo. And I love you guys who watch this video. Thank you so much. Till the next ramblings, I guess. I'll figure out some kind of an outro for this, don't worry.